Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 116. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee is with me, and we are in beautiful Singapore, expensive Singapore. How would you describe Singapore?
Hot and humid Singapore.
Oh, it is hot and humid.
Full of shopping centers, Singapore.
A lot of shopping centers.
But it is very beautiful, Singapore. Very green, very lush.
It's like a cool balance of like green and lush, but then also all the amazing buildings and architecture that you have. Like very, very like modern, cool architecture. It's one
the
of the
architecture
most
is crazy.
It's like one of the most unique cities I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It's second time we've been here. Of course, we were here in 2014. You were still working for the UFC at that time, and we were out here for Safadine versus Hyung-Yu Lim. I believe, if memory serves me right, that was the first ever Fight Pass show.
Could be.
I believe so. I should have looked that up. So much for research.
Yeah, well, we just make it up on the fly in this one.
That's how we do it.
That's how we do it.
I should say, we got a strong contender for a new name for the podcast, by the way.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
Give it up to Australian PR rep Pete Klosko, who came up with the idea of John Morgan looking for a pint. Kind of play on the looking for a fight there. I don't have to explain.
I just wanted to let it sit in the air
I just
wanted it to sit in the air there for a little bit.
I thought I was going to get a little bit more reaction. I thought I was going to get a little,
No, I mean, I think it's definitely a funny. But that's your side podcast.
Oh, I got to launch another podcast?
No, that's actually it's a video portion to go along with this.
I like. Can we just steal Dana White looking for a fight graphics and
we steal all their other shit.
We'll just copy it word for word, lyric for lyric. There's no lyrics in a video. All right, I'm going crazy. It's the warm Tiger beverages that we're having here.
It's pretty sad to see it have affairs here.
We're here at the Marina Bay Sands, and let me just explain something about the Marina Bay Sands. It is freaking gorgeous. Hopefully you've seen the pictures people are taking from here, including ourselves. It is beautiful. One of the most beautiful properties you've ever seen. It's massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
The conference center, mall, hotel, they're all tied together. The Marina Bay Sands Hotel, of course, is the iconic 3 towers with the infinity pool on the top that everybody goes to.
Mm-hmm.
This conference center that we've been working in all week is ridiculously large. I mean, it's like the biggest conference center you've ever seen, and then there's like another level of it on top of it. It's just massive.
Just crazy.
And then the shopping mall is like all the high-end stuff. But wherever
super
you
high-end
go,
stuff like Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Gucci, all the other names I can't afford that I don't know that exist.
I don't even know them because I've never even looked at them. But the frosty beverages here, I mean, seriously going to run you about $12 to $15 a pop, which is, about at least $10 US for a frosty beverage, and it gets a little taxing on the MMA Roadshow budget. So we had to we found a little convenience store that had a couple of frosty beverages that we could grab for the podcast. But let's not say that the refrigerator, it was working. I mean, it was on, but it wasn't making anything very.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know if it was just for show or something, but yeah, it's not cold, but
like it's not really a refrigerator.
It's the tough stuff that we have to do for the show.
It's just fluorescent lighting, and it makes a little hum.
It just looks like it. They're like, we purely intend for you to take it home and put it in your own fridge.
Yeah, they're probably.
Who does that?
Who does that? They don't know how we roll. All right, can you believe that? Well, first of all, plenty to talk about. I think we'll get to a little Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor talk in a little bit. That's going to dominate the headlines. But
is that happening?
Maybe. Can you believe as we sit down to record this, and we're doing it on Friday here in Singapore, because the time change is so different, we can actually still get it out on Friday morning. Normally we sit down on Thursday night, edit it real quick, get it out on Friday morning, but we're so far ahead, we actually decided to put it off a little bit. So we're sitting down on Friday. Do you believe it's only been 5 days since the fights in Auckland? Does that feel like an eternity ago?
It does feel like a while ago.
5 days, bro. That was a Sunday morning show. It's Friday. That was 5 days ago.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Nuts.
It does feel longer.
Nuts. Marc Hunter, we didn't get to do the and a half, unfortunately, once again. The schedules that we have been on have made that absolutely impossible. We barely got done working in time to did we even sleep? Slept for
got a couple hours.
I think it was about 2 hours or so. And then headed to the airport. Auckland and Singapore are not very close together.
No, not as close as we thought.
It was about 11 hours with the flight. The worst flight I've ever had. There's no question it was the worst flight I've ever had. Possibly, we flew into Sydney, and it was still early in the morning when we did that. And then the connection in Sydney, and from Sydney to Singapore was per capita the most crying babies I've ever seen on an airplane ever. And I'm telling you, I'm usually pretty good about it, especially since Eli was born. I had a son, being around kids and being around crying, I kind of tolerated, I guess, or put up with. Like, it used to piss me off. Like, a baby would be crying, I'd just get frustrated. Now it really doesn't bother me at all. But, dude, this was getting to me, man. There were, like, stereo baby crying all over us.
It was the loudest thing ever. If it wasn't for the headsets with the noise canceling, I think it probably would have been just about unbearable. But luckily, there's a point where you could fall asleep. But yeah, it was like unchecked babies. I mean, I get it. Babies cry on a plane, but it seemed like the parents weren't doing anything about it. Like, they were just like, oh, we're at home. Just cry. The baby eventually will fall asleep. But these babies didn't fall asleep.
My wife would have slapped some of those parents. I'm not going to lie. She gets pissed. She's like, dude, like, you can't keep a baby from crying, but you got to at least try.
You got to at least say something. Caress it. Do something. I don't know if they're just so used to just tuning it out or whatever, but they just did not do anything, and it went on unchecked for a long time, and there was nothing more annoying than that. I mean,
it was the worst flight I could remember in a long time. So
you had them all around you. Oh. I'm glad I switched seats. I still had probably the loudest one by me, but you had them on all sides.
Left side, right side, behind me, crying babies in every position.
Literally in the seat that I would have been sitting in.
Yep.
But I saw that those
Thanks,
were.
bro.
I saw that they had those. I saw on the plane chart, the seat. They had the little baby thingies on the wall. So I was like, oh, dude, if there's a baby, they're going to automatically move to that seat. So I was like, I want to get away from there. So that's a traveler tip. Check some of your long hauls. If it has the plane, like Seat Guru is showed on the plane, I believe that it had the little baby thing. Mm-hmm. And usually sometimes they'll bump you from your seat or ask if you could move for somebody else, or more than likely there's going to be somebody there. And I just assumed when me and you were on the end seats that the two seats in the middle were going to be taken by somebody and their kid. And I was just like, dude, I'm not going to do it. So I went back, and luckily I had an open seat next to me on the left. So I was pretty happy about that. But
you made the wise move. You made the good call.
Yeah, man. Unchecked babies crying on a 9-hour flight are not fun.
As soon as we got here, man, it was funny because by the time we were leaving New Zealand, I was just cold, man. I'd packed incorrectly, assuming the weather would be pretty similar to what it was going to be here. It was not. It was cold, and it was just starting to soak into my bones by the end, man. I was starting to be chilly, and I'm still a little bit sick. You might be able to hear it in my voice. I'm still a little sick from there. So by the time we got here, man, I was ready for the heat. But holy Christ, we stepped out of the airport, and you could feel it immediately. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, the heat and the humidity here is nuts.
Just right off the plane. And when you're on that little section, the little walkway from the plane to the airport, it was just like, oh, no.
So it's a cool spot. If you're ever in the Asia area and you can find a way to get to Singapore, this is definitely a place to do it. But just make sure you got a few extra bucks in your pocket. So since we didn't get to do an and a half, let's want to talk real quickly about New Zealand, which 5 days ago still seems like an eternity. Mark Hunt picking up a TKO over Derek Lewis, roadshow favorite, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. And, man, I don't know. It was tough watching the fight. I know that, we're not supposed to have a cheering interest or whatever, but we've just always found Derek to be such a likable character that you can't help but pull for him a little bit. And I knew this was going to be a tough fight for him, but Derek looked kind of flat. And by the end of it, man, he was exhausted.
Yeah, I was exhausted.
You were exhausted?
Just watching
him? Yeah, he was done.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucked to see that, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, when he got done and was starting to talk about the back and all this other stuff. I wanted to watch it back, and I haven't done that yet to see if I can see if there were moments, because there were times where he did seem very, very stiff, and it just seemed out of character. Because I mean, we've seen that dude train before, so I was like, I don't know why he looks so winded, but I know once you start taking damage, it'll take it out of you. So I'm not gonna discount those hits that Mark was getting him with, but he definitely seemed stiff, and it just it was tough to watch because it just didn't seem like him. And then when he kind of at the end afterwards said about his back, and then it just made me think, all right, well, maybe it just got to the point where, I mean, he couldn't get out of his head, and he was feeling that, and he wasn't able to get off punches that he normally would. And I mean, if it is something that serious enough that it is going to affect his fight, a few rounds in, that's something that could be almost, you need to take a lot of rest off. He's fought a lot of times.
He has fought a lot. He's been really busy, and I'm hoping that maybe there's a little bit of
just
burnout. You know what I mean?
Fatigue. His muscles just literally need to just stop. He just needs to walk away for 6 months or something.
I'll say this: when he left the octagon, as he was walking by press row, there were a lot of people around him, so I didn't have like a clear, path to like record him or whatever, because I've been trying to do a little bit more of that lately. But he actually did like stop by the octagon and kind of do like a little adjustment of his back. He like literally leaned over and put his left arm on the skirting around the octagon and kind of like like he was in back pain, like he was trying to stretch his back out. So
and there's nothing worse than back pain, man. I mean, like, I know all of us have probably felt it when there's days when you're just doing something, your back just sort of spasms and you feel like you can't continue. And I can only imagine trying to do that when you have a very large, dangerous man throwing bombs at your head, But it's rough. That was a tough one to watch because I like both guys. But, of course, Derek's kind of a roadshow favorite of ours. So, not seeing him perform at what we know we can perform was a little rough because, I wanted it to be more of a, banging match, and it just felt
kind of slow and labored.
Yeah,
it really did. And I thought the stoppage was fine, by the way. I heard some people question it, but dude, when you put your hands on your hip, back up to the cage, lean over and duck down, you're done.
You're done. That's
okay with
a standing turtle position right there. And I don't blame it. And Marc, he was starting to tee off right there, and all he would have done, dropping his head and dropping his hands like that, he would have just ate 2 or 3 huge bombs from Marc. And if you're not going to at least intelligently defend yourself, the ref's got to do it for you, and he's going to do it by stopping the fight.
Yep,
so.
I had no problem with it at all. He's supposed to be married this week in Hawaii, so I haven't really seen much social media. I don't know
early
if that's done already.
Congratulations we send to you.
Exactly, big
best
congratulations.
Wishes to you and yours.
Hopefully, he'll take some time off, do a little honeymoon, have some fun, and then think it over and then come back. I would hate to see him walk away, even though it's disappointing.
I'd love to see him come back, run that back with Travis, especially if Travis is trying to step up and say something.
Ooh, they got a little trash talk going on, huh?
Oh yeah, that was some good shit, man. They're coming at it, but yeah, if he wants to run it back, I think Derek would be more than happy to run that back.
I think so too. All right, Mark Hunt picked up a win. Revealed in the post-fight press conference he has 3 fights left on his deal. He actually wasn't sure, but his manager he thought it was 2, and I was just trying to clarify. And his manager was actually over my shoulder and was like, "No, it's 3." So I don't know if that got picked up on the microphones or not. But he clarified that he has 3 fights left and wants to call it a career at the end of those 3 fights. I think that's probably accurate. I think that I don't know exactly what fights necessarily makes sense. He did say he wouldn't mind fighting Overeem again, or maybe Dos Santos again, doing it in Japan. The September shows in Tokyo. That's a perfect spot for Marc Hunt to fight. So maybe that's something we can see happen. But the other thing too is I like the fact that Marc is keeping this crusade basically against PEDs going. And we brought it up in the pre-fight interviews, and you could tell like he was kind of angry at me a little bit briefly that I brought it up, but did speak to it. And I tell you what, man, I don't necessarily love the whole suing your boss thing. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, but I do like the fact that he's pushing to get something done, and I like the fact that I think what he's saying just makes all the sense in the world. Hell, we saw a situation today here in Singapore where a fighter misses weight. Now he missed weight badly, 6 pounds for a flyweight affair, and had to forego 30% of his purse, right? Mm-hmm. But if the same guy is busted for steroids afterwards, you don't get any of his money then? When you really think about it, it's stupid. If a guy misses weight and you get part of his money, why shouldn't you get part of his
any damage to you at that point?
Yes, exactly. Now you're talking about I got to get in a cage with a guy that's swinging at my head that's taking some PEDs, and it gets proven he doesn't owe me $1?
Yeah.
Come on, man. I don't know if I don't think, what Marc wants 100% of the purse. I don't ever see that getting done. But I see no reason at all why if your opponent tests positive, you shouldn't get part of their money. It's just to me, when you really think about it, it's just common sense.
They ultimately, maybe instead of just paying them the win bonus that night, the win bonus comes after you clear after you clear the final test.
That's interesting.
That way, they have the money already with them. Then if they're going to take X percentage, I'm sure that second half of that check will cover it.
Yep.
It seems easy enough to me.
That's what they do with bonuses, right? Like you got to clear
shit before you ever get it. Why
not do that with your win bonus?
Yep.
I like it. I like where you're coming from. So, Derek Lewis, Marc Hunt. I didn't necessarily live up to the hype that I thought it would be. The pre-fight was fun, and there's interesting stories moving forward with both of them. The fight didn't necessarily deliver. There was tension. There's no doubt there was tension because every time they threw, man, you knew it was bad intentions, but it just wasn't as much action as I.
Yeah, it was like one of those ones you were waiting for it. I was trying to do a little work at the same time, but it's like you don't want to look down. Because you didn't want to be that guy that looked down and then all of a sudden you hear the roar of the crowd because you missed the one punch. But, no, it was definitely a lot of tension. But then by the end, it was just like, this isn't what I expected this fight to be.
It was a good crowd, though, man. It was a really enjoyable event. Hopefully they'll be back. I was surprised. They did well, but they didn't sell out. I was surprised that, Marc Hunt didn't sell the place out instantly. I honestly thought it would be an instantaneous sellout, but still, it was a good crowd. They were knowledgeable. They did very well at the gate, so I think they'll be back. It's not a place they're going to be every year, but I think it's a place they'll come every 2 to 3 years, kind of like they have. Derek Brunson had that impressive quick win over Daniel Kelly. It was so funny in retrospect. Daniel Kelly, we were kind of laughing that he was a huge underdog, and he's like, listen, if I can get through the first 2 minutes of a fight, I can fight anybody. And oops, didn't get through the first 2 minutes. But it was so funny to think about that in retrospect, oh, God, he actually knows he's in trouble early on.
Yeah.
Dan Hooker picked up the win over Ross Pearson. Was tough to watch because, Ross Pearson's wife was actually there as the octagon girl. And so she had to see him, get knocked out in devastating fashion with that knee. And it was really – man.
It's just a perfectly timed shot.
Well, that's the whole thing is I thought Ross was fighting really well. Especially, the first round I thought Dan won, but I thought Ross looked like he was gaining some momentum in the second round. And I think winning the round and then just got clipped. And, it's rough because, man, he was in desperate need of a win. And, that could be the end of his UFC run.
That probably is the end. That's probably the last time we're going to see him in the UFC, I imagine.
Crazy.
Which sucks because he's an awesome dude. But, he hasn't had a good string lately. And I don't know. I mean, he's good for overseas. I think he still pulls some recognition from the fans.
He got a lot of respect. Even though he was fighting a Kiwi, he got applause when he was coming in. Like it wasn't boos. This was the I know he's living in Australia now, but I don't know. I thought that was cool. He got a lot of respect.
So we'll see. I liked the guy, but it's tough. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people that we like get let go for not being able to keep a string of wins coming. So
it was tough to watch, especially again, human nature. You can't help but turn and look at his wife, who's sitting there cage side, having to watch it unfold, and she kept it together, and I don't know. I felt kind of bad watching her, but man, it's just so hard when you care about somebody that's in there, man, to see him. I mean, as much as we love this sport and as great as this sport is, it's a violent sport too, man. And when it's somebody you know and love in there,
that's tough.
So, all right, Ian Cutelaba did pick up a win in 22 seconds, man. The main card was awesome. Cutelaba, I like Cutelaba, man. He's got he didn't do the green paint thing, which I guess
down.
I don't know. Maybe they couldn't find any in New Zealand or what.
That or I blamed it because he didn't want to put it on his beard, maybe or something.
Yeah, he did have that nice beard growing out. He probably didn't want to get that done. We did get to see the translator in action as well. She was a cute little hotel employee that filled in translating duties and. Probably better at her hotel job than translating job.
I didn't realize that she was a hotel person. Now it makes more sense where all she has to do is like, all right, towels right here.
I didn't say she cleaned rooms.
Well, no, I mean like receptionist. Oh, you need towels? Okay, here.
Fair enough.
He wants towels, But like as for trying to, translate was not the.
I switched from Orthodox to Southpaw, and these are, I have no idea what these words are.
So.
Oh, man. Ben Nguyen picked up the big win over Tim Elliott. It's funny because we had flown over with Tim Elliott, and I thought he got there kind of late for the weight cut, but he said it wasn't a problem. He made weight without issue, and Ben Nguyen just looked fantastic. He clipped him early. I don't know if people saw it, but I could see it from cage side. One of the very first exchange, Tim Elliott kind of went in, and it basically got caught with a knee trying to duck down for a leg, and he was just never the same after that. He got rocked right away, and I think they said he didn't even remember the fight after it happened. So he he was clipped pretty hard. So anyway, it was a fun night. It really was. I thought the whole night started fun. I thought it was even when we had all those decisions in a row. I thought the whole night was fun, man. The J.J. Aldrich and Chan Mi Jeon starting the fight out. The two girls going at it, man. It was. was good, man. I enjoyed the card in New Zealand. I know a lot of people were, not excited about it, but man, I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, certainly was. Certainly was.
All right, well, listen, then we made the transition here to Singapore. First event in Asia proper in quite a while, man. It's been about 18 months. But it sounds like the start of something kind of big. WME IMG has an office here in Singapore, and it sounds like that has helped the UFC out a lot. They used to have just a handful of employees. Now they have a team of employees, and they've got people that, have boots on the ground in all these different Asian regions. And they're starting to make some progress. They're able to work a little bit more efficiently and have some assistance. They've already announced the Japan event in September. I believe September, right? Yeah, September. And then it sounds like an event in China may be happening in November, the week after the Australian event that's been announced as well. Still no location on that. It sounds like probably Sydney. But it sounds like 3 events in the second half of the year out here in Asia, and
I like it.
It sounds like they're the same way that they focused on the European market in the past couple of years. They're going to focus on the Asian market and try to make an impact here.
Yeah, I love it. I love the Asian market. I love coming to these countries. I love these trips. I mean, if I'm going to be on a plane for quite a while, man, take me over here, man. It's just so different. It's so unique. I just love it. I love it. So it's my own guilty pleasure. I'm like, can we please do more Asia shows?
I know you're a big fan. I know you can't wait to go to Tokyo. That's about your favorite city on earth.
It's probably about my favorite. It's one of the favorite ones. I mean, like once you start going to Italy, then it's another story. But Tokyo is definitely probably one of my favorite places. Just love it. From the very first time I went there, just fell in love with that place, man. I have nothing but good memories there. Well, I do have some bad memories,
are not
but
some
but
memories are gone.
There were some good ones still there with it.
We've had some rough nights over there. All right, well, listen. As we've been doing each week, I spent a few minutes with Joe Carr back in Las Vegas, breaking down each region week by week, and we'll play the latest edition of that here with Joe Carr to kind of give you a little tease on what's happening with the UFC in Asia.
Yeah, it's Australia, New Zealand, is just on fire for us since 193, which is great, and now we're kind of focusing our attention, north in that region as well as we continue to expand in Asia.
It's interesting. So is that kind of one reason Holly ended up being? Because I didn't even think about it until you just mentioned it, but I thought Holly and Betch in a main event in Singapore. How does that make any sense? Now you mention it, is that why it makes sense?
Well, look at what happened the last time she was on that side of the world. No, I ran into her at 211, and she was like super excited to be back there. She was actually talking about her week and like when she was going to get in and adjust and how she did it last time and whatnot. But I think for the Singapore card, it was our first time back in Asia in basically 18 months. We have a good relationship with the government there. There's a number of people in that region behind it. It's kind of our hub from a UFC perspective with our office, but it's also IMG's hub as well outside of Shanghai for Asia, and they have a ton of people there. So we're like, we have to bring, this has to be some star power on this card, even if it's not necessarily like the natural hook. I mean, Singapore itself doesn't have a ton of talent. And even Southeast Asia for us is pretty weak. So you're going to get a mix, so you got the Hall, you got the former champion, you got Hawley, you got Betch, you got Dos Anjos, another former champion, but then you have Stun Gun, so you have that Asian element, and then I think the undercard, you have the Chinese fighter that we just signed, who's a big prospect, and we have a mix of Japanese and everything. So it's kind of like a pan-regional card, and that's what we were trying to do because, Singapore is kind of a hub. It's actually, I think it's only 6 or 7 million people actually within Singapore. It's like fairly small, but the hope was that this would kind of be a beacon for Southeast Asia for an event, and you'd actually, because we're not going. I'm telling you, we're not going to Malaysia anytime soon with an event. Thailand's probably still a fair ways off. Jakarta, it probably doesn't make sense. So the hope was like, hey, this Singapore event is actually a regional event for Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and the rest of the region.
You mentioned there had been kind of an absence from Asia for a while, and I think a lot of us thought, are you withdrawing from that market? But it seems like you're going pretty strong back into it. You've got this one. You just announced Tokyo. Sounds like there may be another one that you touched on in November. So how much of a priority is Asia, and what happened over the last year and a half almost that you weren't there that now it makes sense to go back in?
Yeah, it goes back to the whole calendar thing. It's just not always easy, having it make sense. So I think, last year in particular, we had the Philippines moved, and with the injury and whatever, we moved it. But, a good example is we wanted to go back to Seoul as well last year. But now that arena's under renovation. So the hope is that we're back in Seoul probably first or second quarter of 18 when it comes back online. And then Japan, Tokyo, Saitama is actually one of the most busy arenas in the world as well. And we had the date held that matched up with our TV date, and then we found out that actually no, it was the weekend after, which we couldn't do because it was like a pay-per-view weekend or something like that. So sometimes it's just like you just can't win. So I think on the surface it probably looked like, oh, UFC is pulling back out of Asia, and it really was just one of those situations where like the stars didn't align from us, from a calendar, from a venue, whatever. So, we were never really pulling out, but I think this year will look like a recommitment to the region. So we'll be in Singapore, Japan, and then we have the event in November that is TBD, and then we'll hopefully be back first half of next year in Seoul, and maybe back to Philippines again, and probably do 2 or 3 events again in 2018. So it's definitely a focus for IMG and everything they have going on in the region on the entertainment side. Obviously, like in China specifically, that box office will arguably pass the U.S. box office in the near future. So they have big business there and aspirations, and we do too as well. I think the challenge for us in China historically was there was really no path to monetization. It's like, okay, great, like everyone needs to be in China. There's 1.3 billion people. But it was kind of like, okay, like we've been here for a few years, we're not really making any money, like what's the end goal? And that was a function of like the media market there was very much just kind of free to air, provincial broadcasters didn't necessarily pay for sports content. But then you had the emergence of the digital players that actually started buying TV rights, the PPTVs, the LIT TVs of the world. We ended up securing a pretty attractive and lucrative deal with PPTV, and then it was kind of like, okay, the light bulb went off. Okay, maybe it's time to reinvest and actually build this thing out, and that's kind of where we're at now. So China is definitely a priority and a focus, and it's going to be on the talent side.
I was going to say, we've heard in the past that sometimes it's more difficult to do business in Asia unless you're an Eastern-based company. I mean, is that true, or is that changing? I mean, do you are there obstacles and roadblocks, or is it just, as you said, it just hasn't been number one priority until now?
It's definitely a little more challenging. I mean, obviously the language barrier in and of itself is a challenge, and I think the difference between, I guess, Asia and Western Europe is that even though Western Europe you have, different languages, whether it's German, French, English, culturally everything's pretty much the same, and the way of doing business is the same, right? So you can kind of navigate that, and there's a fair amount of English. So like it's been very easy for us to move from market to market in Western Europe. In Asia, it's not just like the language is different, it's like just culturally and the way of doing business is completely different in Korea as it is in Japan, as it is in China. So I think that was definitely a learning curve for us. But now we have the IMG resources, people on the ground with the relationships that have been there for however long. So it's definitely made things easier. But no, I mean, we've been successful in Korea. I think you find the right partners. It's like anything in business. You find the right people that you're comfortable working with, that you trust, and you can get things done. And I think in Korea we had that with our event in Seoul. Japan, the last few events, we've had pretty good relationships on the ground, and we have no concerns about going back. And I think China, that was we've had the events in Macau, but it's very easy doing business with an American casino company. We can have the conversations here. I can go down the strip to go to the Venetian and have the conversation, and we can figure it out. It's a completely different animal going to mainland China, Shanghai or Beijing for the first time. And I think now that we have the IMG China, WME IMG China staff on the ground in both Beijing and Shanghai, that's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when. And I can tell you that it's definitely on the horizon.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Joe Carr, who you've been hearing from weekly on the MMA Roadshow, talking a little bit about the markets. If you haven't, if you don't know who the guy is, you've probably seen a lot of him lately, not realizing he's starting to kind of head all the press conferences and stop by real quick to talk to the local media. Good dude, and he's in charge of the UFC's international division, their content distribution as well. So appreciate him, the time that he gave us to shoot that whole series of interviews, basically, that he did. As he teased, I mean, like I said, some big things happening out here. It's going to start this week with Singapore. This could be maybe an annual destination for the UFC. So it sounds like there's really going to be some increased focus out here, and I'm excited for it as well, because I do feel like it's kind of an untapped market, so to speak, for the UFC, a place that they were kind of always under-serving a little bit and under-delivering on. It sounds like they're going to try to live up to that. So, listen, should also say, if you like what you're listening to, log into iTunes. Do us a favor. Help us out there. Rate us, review us, leave us some feedback. Nothing more we like to do than check out that feedback and read what you guys like.
You like to do it.
Well, Well,
I don't really go there.
You don't care?
I care, but I don't find myself
you don't
going
like
there and looking there.
I don't look at it every day or anything. I just pull it up to see if anybody left a comment. But I always like the feedback. It's good. I like when people say, people hit me up on Twitter, say, I like this, I don't like this, I wish you would do this.
You could find us on the Google, was it Google Podcasts that you can find us? I don't know if that's through Google Play. I think they can leave.
You really did your research on this one.
I'm doing it right now as we're talking about it. But they could go that way. Or another idea that another listener passed on. If you really want to do your appreciation, say it's your birthday, or say it's like your wife's birthday or kids, and you're like, I got to go get them a gift. I'm going to go to Amazon maybe. You know what you could do?
What can you do?
You could go to the MMA Roadshow page, and right there is a link. There's a search box for Amazon. What you do is just type what you're looking for your kid right there, and it takes you to Amazon. But what it does is it puts a little token up in the little search bar or whatever thing, and it credits and tells them where it came from. So sometimes some of those purchases might throw a few pennies back to the roadshow.
I like it.
So you want to give a 5-star rating, I'm down for it. You want to order your next, toaster from Amazon? Go to the MMARoadshow.com and order it there.
I like it. In fact, just change your Amazon bookmark. If you've got Amazon bookmarked in your
You're stepping
browser,
it up right there.
just
I like
change it to the Roadshow.
Yeah.
And then
even better, Roadshow. Because, you can get everything you need right there.
Right there.
Whoa.
That was a big shout out to Dan, who hit us up on Facebook and was like, you guys should tease that. And I read it and I thought, that's really a good idea. We probably should.
Probably should. And there we did.
All right. Hey, listen. So Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor.
Is that happening?
Can you? I think so. It's tough over here in Asia. They don't have a lot of news. We're not sure.
I know. I just found out that Adam West died, but we were in Auckland when that happened.
I mean,
that was like
I
the
saw
night.
that people are making a big deal out of that. Is it
you
a big
don't like
deal?
Batman? It's Batman.
I mean, I did like the Batman, but I mean, it's
or if you ever watched like Family Guy, he was like the mayor.
Oh, he was the mayor. I did like that.
Yeah.
I did like when I was a kid. I
liked
the old Batman.
I'm a huge sci-fi. Yeah, I love all that shit. So it's not like every day I'm like, oh, Adam West, but it's a throwback to one of the first superheroes that you would see on TV, and but yeah, I just think the fact that as he got older to get partner up with and do stuff with like Family Guy, the guy that pretty much had a respectable career, he ties himself with that, and I just think he had a great personality. He was very playful, and could have been a lot more serious about what he was. So no, I mean,
all right, well, pour one out for your homie Adam West.
I would, but I only have one.
I've got another. We got another warm beer. Got another warm tiger. All right, listen. Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor. I guess the fact that it's finally official, I just kind of want to get where you're at, because first of all, we're going to be inundated. We're going to have to hear stuff about this fight every day for the next 2 months. There's no doubt about it. So if you're a reader of MMA Junkie and you're like, you're already sick of it, I'm just telling you right now, brace yourself, because it's going to get worse and worse. I think there's going to be press tours, there's going to be social media messages, and I'm telling you right now, I mean, our own bosses at USA Today, I mean, they're like, hey, did you write up this post? I saw this on Instagram. Do you guys have something coming on it? You know what I mean? Like, everybody is following this, and I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit of overload by the time we get to fight day.
Yeah. Maybe just a little.
I'm just prepping for that now, but
maybe just a little.
The fact that it's happening, I think along the way you and I were pretty realistic about it, right? I mean, I think we always said it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like we're leaning that direction. When it was finally done, though, was there any? I mean, were you a little bit surprised or a little bit shocked? Or I mean, I kind of felt like it was happening.
Yeah, I think. A while back, I think even before when they said. Conor had signed his part, there was just so much talk, and when it got to the point where Dana had said, we can't stop this guy, the least we could do is to make sure that this can happen,
right?
I knew right then it was going to happen at some point, because I mean, Conor, he wants that big paycheck, and Mayweather, he wants the paycheck, of
course.
So Mayweather, I think he got a lot of flack that last fight. People were just like, oh, they're going to pay all that much money, and they thought the fight sucked.
For the Pacquiao fight?
Well, even the one after that was
Berto,
was garbage. So, I mean, I think he was probably like, his days are numbered too for getting big 100, 300, but whatever crazy amount of millions he's going to get. Yeah. I mean, he's only got so many of those left in the pipe anyways, so might as well get in there and do it. Especially the way that I hear this dude spends money around Vegas, man. I don't know how that dude still got money.
Well, when you're making the hundreds of millions, if you go happen to spend hundreds of thousands, it doesn't even matter.
I hear it's more crazy more than that, but whatever.
Oh, you got sources, huh?
We maybe have sources. But no, I mean, I felt like it was going to happen. So, no, I'm glad, man. It's going to be one heck of a spectacle. Interested to see what people are going to think, because I guarantee most people aren't going to know anybody, myself included, who even the boxers are on this card. I'm so out of the loop when it comes to boxers. Like, who do you put on the undercard for that? Do you try to stack it so then, you have money? You just make people want to do it. I mean, I think most people are going to buy it just for the fact that it's Mayweather and McGregor. So do you need to have a stack card to make it worthwhile? But then you got to share the money a little bit with the other fighters. So, I mean, is it just going to be a complete stink fest?
I think, if you're Mayweather Promotions, and they're, of course, the ones booking the undercard, the UFC is going to have nothing to do with it. It's going to be a boxing card.
He did say it was a Mayweather-McGregor production.
Mayweather-McGregor. McGregor's a promoter. So, I mean, Mayweather's going to control who boxes on this thing. I think what you do is, you're right. I don't think, I saw today, actually, like, Stipe Miocic was like, Anthony Joshua, let's fight. I don't think you put other big fights, because I mean it's going to sell by itself. You know what I mean? So I don't think you bother with any like titles, or I think what you do though is you do take advantage of the fact that you know how many eyeballs are going to be on that card, and you do put a couple of like your up and coming talent, your people that you think are stars of the future.
If you want to really maybe even help build it too, is, I mean, say we have some time. We got till I guess August. So what is that? June?
About 2 months.
Oof.
Got about 2 months.
That's close. I mean, it'd be a little bit too tight to. I mean, people are going to want to be on it, because I agree. I think it'd be a great time to spotlight upcoming athletes. But maybe if there was time and it was far enough advance, if there was a way to almost make them have to have a fight to win their way onto the card, like a little tournament.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So the best of the best are on the undercard. Best of the upcoming, stars. But yeah, I think I would almost rather see. A who's gonna be on the card, as opposed to them trying to stack it too much, because half of it I'm just gonna just get to the main fight anyways.
What's crazy about boxing, man? I know you've covered a couple of events. I mean, first of all, hell, you don't even hear what the card is until like a week out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even know who's on there. So it's not like MMA where, hey, did you hear they just booked this prelim fight today? It's the Fight Pass featured fight, or this one's on FS1.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even hear what the card is until like a week out. And then the other thing too is it's crazy is nobody shows up for the prelims. This is what I'm going to be interested to see is
they don't even broadcast.
Like no, hell no, they don't
so
even.
It's like,
don't even air them.
You see like 2 fights for your pay-per-view buck.
I wonder. I'm interested to see how many MMA media get credentialed for this, because it's my understanding in talking to everybody that we have, the UFC has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Zero to do with it. I mean, I think they're going to help. You heard Dana say like they're going to do an embedded, and I'm sure they're going to help with a little bit of the marketing. But as far as like the actual operations aspect of it, I don't think the UFC has anything to do with it. It's going to be crazy, man. What if, MMA Junkie isn't credentialed, MMA Fighting isn't credentialed, Sherdog isn't credentialed, MMA Weekly isn't credentialed? I mean, what if it happens that they're not credentialed? I mean, they're a boxing promotion. What the hell do they care if we're there or not?
Right. It's true.
That'd be bizarre.
It's true. Well, I'm waiting.
Might be watching from the house.
If we can't get some passes. Yeah. The girlfriend asked if we could get it. She's like, "Can we watch that?" I'm like, "I'm hoping to be working it, but
it's got to be $100 pay-per-view."
I know. That's
got to be $100.
That sucks.
It's crazy because I'm telling you, in my head, I still don't feel like it's a competitive fight. I know Dana was selling it, and I know the whole line that he's using is, Floyd has trouble with southpaws, and Conor is longer, and he's younger, and everybody that's giving Conor a chance is saying, don't forget, Floyd's 42 now, 43. He's hasn't fought in a while, but I still just think it's Mayweather 99 times out of 100. 99 out of 100.
I'm just going to follow the party line. I work in MMA. I'm rooting for MMA.
You're rooting for him?
That's what I guarantee you're going to have every MMA fighter, come backing up Conor, so why don't we follow suit?
Give him a chance, right?
Give him a chance.
Yeah, I don't want to tear him down. I mean, that's the thing is, I don't want to miss it. I want to be there. I want to watch this thing. And it is, you said it earlier, it's a spectacle, man. It's going to sell. It's going to be huge. But it's so crazy because I don't think it's necessarily competitive I mean, it could be a one-sided 12 rounds to nothing decision for Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just going to have to tune in to old Helen Yee and see if Connor's really doing or not Connor, but Floyd's really practicing as hard as people say he is.
She's been breaking it down. She hangs out at the Mayweather, doesn't she?
She's there like daily or every other day or something. So
that's her crew right there.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess that'd be the true test. I mean, I think most of the insiders or the people that you hear from are saying, "Oh yeah, he's been working." But these are also yes men. They'll say whatever the fuck they need to say.
Right.
I don't know how true that actually is. And if he takes Conor lightly, I hope he takes a couple hard ones to his face. But I don't know. I'm going Team MMA on this one. Regardless if I go down looking like a fool, which I don't care if I do. I'm ride or die MMA.
MMA. I love it. Well, hopefully we'll have plenty of time to talk about it for the next 2 months. That's for damn sure. I think there's gonna be plenty of coverage on the site, and hopefully we get to cover the event. Hopefully we can bring you something live. If not, then
hopefully I'll be like, hey, I've covered some of your boxing. Let me in
twice
or three.
Oh man. Well, listen. The one good thing about this road trip is that we've been around a lot of UFC people because we've been in close proximity for the last month, and I did get to check in on something that I was kind of upset about last week, and I touched base with some people on this flyweight situation, Demetrius Johnson, and the report came out that Demetrius was like, hey man, Dana threatened to shut down the flyweight division. And I, first of all, I would hate to see it as a knee-jerk reaction, just like, F you, Demetrius, we're shutting down your whole division. I said it last week, but that to me would just be
ridiculous.
But I hate to see the division shut down for any reason. I love the flyweights, man.
Yeah, there's no reason. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, to shut it down just because you can't find somebody to beat the guy at the top, that's on you. There's plenty of people out there. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well, I guess what I found out was in talking to some people is that, listen, there have been realistic discussions about it, but it was not as a reaction to Demetrius or as a threatening talk to Demetrius, but it is something that they have discussed internally, which is, man, listen, we're having trouble marketing these people. We're having trouble getting anybody to buy into the flyweights, to buy into Demetrius Johnson, and maybe potentially we're better off shutting down this division. They did it before with the lightweights a long time ago. They had lightweights and then they got rid of it, and of course they brought it back. But there has been some legitimate discussion about it, not so much in a threatening manner towards Demetrius, but I don't know, man. Business-wise, I guess if you're just running a business like straight up, you're just doing dollars and cents wise, I guess maybe it makes sense if it's your least marketable division, but man, I hope that doesn't happen because I think there's some awesome fighters at 125 pounds.
I can't think that is the least marketable.
Demetrius Johnson is, he's just not a pay-per-view draw whatsoever. He doesn't necessarily move the needle in terms of ratings.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It is tough. I get it, but to make a rash decision like that, it's not like they're losing money because of them. Do you maybe then just not try to force it to be the headline of a card? Just keep it on the co-main or keep it on something. It's still a valuable division that has good athletes in it. I don't know.
I'd hate to see it happen. I feel like there's a lot of good fighters in the division, and it's honestly some of my favorite MMA to watch. I don't understand why people can't get into it. I don't get it, and Demetrius Johnson, I see some people, I don't like it because Demetrius Johnson fights are boring, but to me, I think it's amazing to watch Demetrius fight. I think watching a guy that's that technically good and that technically superior is fun to watch. It's not boring to watch. And then, the other thing I guess is just, casual fans don't buy in because they look and they say, what's intimidating about that guy? I could beat him. But, that's the stupidest thing ever. So, I don't know. The whole situation's weird. The thing with Demetrius is that, and I think it's come out, I think Dana has mentioned it too, but I heard the same from other people as well, is that, he pushed for a contract that didn't have pay-per-view points on it because he knows he doesn't necessarily sell pay-per-views.
Yeah.
So he wanted a higher guarantee, and so the UFC said,
okay,
we'll give you that. And then now he's coming back and saying, F you, I want points. I don't get that. And I like Demetrius, man. I like him a lot, dude. I love him as a fighter. I think he's fun as a person, man. Especially I think we're starting to see some of the personality that he has behind the scenes that we've seen for a long time that he just wouldn't do on camera. I think he's a good dude, but that to me is weird. If you push for one thing and get it, I don't think you can argue the other side afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I mean, we've heard him say that before. I mean, you push for a contract, you enter the contract completely willingly, and then, a fight or so later, you're like, no, that's just not good enough. Well, it was good enough then.
Yeah. Bizarre.
I don't know.
Bizarre. All right, well, listen, so we did get out here to Singapore for UFC Fight Night 111, home versus Kohea. It's been a fun week out here in Singapore so far. We've gotten to sit down and do a couple of interviews, and I guess I just want to start there. Justin Scoggins. That guy is, and since we're talking about flyweights, I think it makes sense. This guy is quickly on the list of guys that I think are A, kind of must-watch fighters, but B, must-watch interviews as well. I mean, just a great personality and high energy, man. This dude came in after, having some disappointment in some of his last fights, missing weight, which was frustrating, moved him up to 135 pounds and losing to Pedro Munoz. Man, the guy decided to make a move back down to flyweight and said he refocused himself on health and on nutrition and that sort of thing, and is really dialed in. And I don't know, man, in all of our conversations this week, he was somebody that just truly stood out to me.
Yeah, his energy level is off the chart, as you could see in the weigh-in stuff that he had. And I think he was also really good the last fight when he had the weight problems and invited us up to his room after that, in what could have been a really sad emotional moment, or a vulnerable moment, and kind of wanted to have his story. And I thought that was very respectable of him to kind of just bear it and say, all right, I fucked up, whatever, but then he did swear that he wasn't going to try it again, and then here we are.
Swore.
But he looked great, and he was fucking spot on. I mean, he wasn't over 1 pound, wasn't he? He was just right on the weight.
Well, he was 126, I believe.
Was he 126?
But he had sunglasses on, a chain on, some bracelets on.
Yeah. So, but no, he's a fun fighter. I love his fighting style. So, I'm looking forward to that one.
I am too. I think it's going to be a good fight against Oka Sasaki. Sasaki is a fun fighter as well.
He's a good
man.
fighter too.
Young guy that's exciting. Doesn't speak English, so we haven't really gotten a chance to talk to him much.
I know. I was going to say, for me, he feels like he flies under the radar, but then you see him in this fight, and I remember, I think the last fight, I was like, who's this guy? When's he been around? I was like, oh wait, this isn't his first fight. And,
this is his fifth fight.
Yeah, he's a good fighter, man. He's sharp.
He is, man. I've enjoyed watching the fight. He lost to Wilson Hayes last time out, but he's had some fun fights. So he's exciting, if nothing else. So I'm excited for this fight, and I'm excited for you guys to listen to Justin Scoggins, because he brought the energy, man. He really did, from start to finish. And I thought he just hearing the positivity, the message he had, hearing about his wife being out here competing at the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation Asian Championships. I mean, what a cool kind of situation they have going on. So I'm gonna crack open another warm tiger, and while I do that, here's Justin Scoggins.
Well, Justin, I think that's the first place we have to start is what in the heck are you doing fighting at flyweight again? I remember standing right in front of you and you said, I am never doing this nonsense again. Why are you back at flyweight?
It's, I don't know. I'm just a crazy ass son of a bitch. So I was just kind of going through a weird phase, I guess. It's just life getting at you, holidays, thinking about eating and stuff. And it's like, you know what? I think I could beat the crap out of the 135-pound champ, so why not just move up and stop starving yourself? But, after reflecting on it a little bit and getting back to, talking to my coaches and talking to my managers and stuff, and just refocusing myself and listening to the people around me that care about me, and just paying attention, like getting their counsel, you know what I mean? And doing it the right way, not taking any shortcuts, and hitting the training sessions and doing the diet and everything the right way, the way it's prescribed and told me to do, instead of trying to do shit on my own all the time. Just go out there and listen to everybody, let them tell you what to do, just do it, and just be a good dog, take the commands, and just go, you know what I mean? And that's about it. Just, put your nose to the grindstone, go out there and take this division by storm, because it's there for the taking. And Demetrius Johnson is the pound for pound best fighter in the world, and what I want to be known as is the best martial artist in the world. So it's time to just buckle down and just do it.
That's awesome, man. Well, sounds like then. So there's significant changes. To be there, it sounds like your weight's doing really well this week. But there were real changes that had to be made for you to be confident that this is the right place for you.
Yeah, for sure. Big changes at the gym, Revolution Martial Arts in Inman, South Carolina. Great, awesome facility, man. Like, we haven't been open. Our new facility hasn't been open that long, and it's a huge facility, awesome facility. And we've been bringing all the parts together, and it's kind of hard when you're bringing all the parts together, especially like when you're making a cut like that to 125, because you got to have. I mean, especially the way I am. I'm crazy, man. Like literally. I mean, I know a lot of fighters are, but I'm the craziest one out there. So, you know, when I'm in there, if one little thing goes off, it'll set me off a little bit. You know what I mean? So I surrounded myself. Well, I didn't surround myself with people. The people that I love and that care for me, they helped me surround myself with good people. We got Brian Harper, who's well-respected, awesome coach, been around the game a really long time. He's down there, and he's been pushing me. Jimmy Fowler, Cody Freeland. I mean, all these guys, awesome martial artists, lifelong martial artists, you know, and just sitting down with them and being like, you know, realizing, especially after my last fight, it's like you've been caught in a guillotine twice, you've missed weight once, obviously there's something wrong with you. Sit down, pay attention to what everybody's telling you, and just do it.
That's awesome. Your last fight, I wanted to ask you about that because it was a good fight. I mean, it was fun, but it seemed, just seeing you afterwards, it looked like you took the loss pretty hard. It seemed like kind of an emotional one for you, at least right there in the cage. So what was that loss for you, and what did you take from it?
Dude, you know, it's just like, I remember I felt good, you know what I mean? I felt a little winded because I was moving a lot, and it was he was a heavier guy. Pedro Munoz is real dense. So even the shots I was hitting him with, like I would hit him and I would move, I'd hit him and I would move, starting to get a little winded, but I felt good, dude. Like going into the second round, I was looking across the cage and I'm like, I got this, dude. I'm tagging him, he's not hitting me, and I mean, this is going really, really good right now. Like, we got this. And then I slipped on the damn Budweiser logo. So Budweiser, if you want to throw a dog a bone, I would appreciate maybe some dollars for that or something. But slipped on the logo. And but one thing, you know, as a martial artist, like I pride myself on being able to being in control in any position. And my mistake was I popped my head up. There's a reason you do a technical stand-up, and you don't just pop right back up into somebody. It's because they're going to catch it, especially Pedro Munoz. You pop right up, I gave him what he wanted. It's his only chance that dude had was to beat me, and I literally gave it to him. And then I'm on bottom, and he's on top of me with the guillotine, and he's squeezing, and it's my own lack of knowledge in the jiu-jitsu area, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I gotta move. What do I do? Okay, I'm gonna roll this way. Well, that's the exact opposite thing of what I should have done. But you live, you learn, you grow, and here I am, and I'm ready to take the flyweight division by storm. Nice.
I like this matchup a lot. I got to think when it got announced for you, knowing you the way you are, I got to think that you like this fight too.
Oh, dude, I love it. Yoka Sasaki, that dude's tough. He's a veteran. He's got a good following in Japan. He's an exciting fighter. He just had a great fight with Wilson Reyes, who just fought for the title. So, I mean, the sky's the limit to where this could go with this. You know, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to beat this guy up. No disrespect to Sasaki. I mean, I think the guy's an awesome fighter. I mean, super weird for the division too. You know, so tall and lanky and stuff. But he doesn't bring to the table what I bring to the table. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to abuse this guy for as long as I need to get him out of there. And then I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get a title shot. Because the number 3 ranked guy in the world, if everybody remembers, I schooled him. It was a clinic. And I'll put a clinic on him again if he wants to. You know, he's talking like he wants this title. I'll put a clinic on him again. But I got one clinic to do Saturday, and then we'll just keep lining him up.
It's an interesting time in the flyweight division right now. You know, Demetrius Johnson, he's kind of being odd about the fights he wants, the fight he doesn't want. You got rumors coming out that the whole damn division might be shutting down. I mean, what's your take on everything that's happening right now?
Well, you know, hearing that, it just kind of blows my mind because, like, you look at Ben Nguyen versus Tim Elliott. You look at that fight, dude. Everybody was talking about that fight. Ben Nguyen, I mean, this kid, I mean, he's good, don't get me wrong, but nobody expected him to beat Tim Elliott. He comes out there and he blasts him. Awesome fight. I mean, the flyweights that division is building. That division is getting really good. You got the pound-for-pound best fighter. I mean, what do you expect him to do in there? He's supposed to dominate everybody. He's the pound-for-pound best. You know, but then you got guys like me coming up. You got TJ Dillashaw coming down. You got Ben Nguyen, who just beat up Tim Elliott, who put up a really good fight against Demetrius Johnson. So, you know, don't close that division down. You need that division. You need that to grow this sport, especially in the Asian market, the Mexican market. They love the small fighters. I mean, dude, sky's the limit for this, you know, and I'm gonna help it grow. Like that's my goal, is not only to grow myself, but help the UFC grow that division. And with what I bring to the table, I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to run through this stuff. I'm going to get that belt like I should have had already. I should have had that belt already. A lot of people know that too. And I'm just going to smash my way to the top. I don't care if it takes 10 fights. I don't care if it takes this fight and then I'll get a title shot. But I'm going to run my way through this division. I'll save this division.
So what do you think the path is? You go out there, you put on a phenomenal display on Saturday. I mean, I think it's going to be an exciting fight. It looks like it should be. And then how do you get yourself to Demetrius Johnson? How do you see it playing out?
You know, it's kind of hard. You know, I haven't had a lot of communication with Mick Maynard. It's more my managers that do that. But I would really like to sit down and talk with him and you know, because I feel like if you sit across from a man and he feels the intensity that I have and he sees how prepared I am, and it's like, yeah, I missed weight before. I missed weight one time in my career ever. But I've made the adjustments. I woke up this morning at 129 pounds. I'm putting in a gallon of water a day. I mean, my body is in shape. I'm ready to go. My mind is right. My team's right. I just got married, so the cooking's great at home. My wife is actually fighting for the gold IMMAF championship this Friday before I fight. So I mean, we're building a dynasty. You know what I mean? So as far as what I think is going to happen, man, like I would really like to sit down across from these men, and I want to tell them what I got, what I have to bring to the table, where I'm at mentally, physically. Show them. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing with you right now. You feel it. I know you feel it. I know everybody that's around feels it, and they'll know. I mean, Ray Borg, he knows. They're talking about him getting a title shot. Get out of here, dude. Get out of here. I mean, it makes me mad. I hadn't talked about it because I've got something to focus on Saturday. I'm going to take care of my business on Saturday. And then after that, yeah, I'm probably going to open my mouth a little bit.
I'm feeling it, man.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. You got it. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it feels like maybe this will be like a reinvention, a reestablishment, like a restart for you.
I feel like this is my first fight in the UFC. I feel like, you know, sometimes, you know, I pray a lot and you get to where you want to be, but sometimes you get there and it's like the lesson you need to learn is that you weren't ready to be there yet. You know what I mean? And I can, as a man, I can say that like maybe I did well at the beginning of my UFC career, stuttered, fell, missed weight, but I've grown as a man because of it. Now, at 25 years old, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever they throw at me. And like I said, I don't care if I got to work for it. I don't care if I got to fight 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. But I'm gonna get that title. I will work for it.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Justin Scoggins, bringing the high energy. Okay, let's talk about this card, Cold Coffee. Holly Holm versus Betch Kohea. Holly Holm, I thought Holly gave us a great interview as well. A quiet interview. She was very soft-spoken.
Yes,
but
I was a little worried about the audio levels.
But I thought she was spot on. I mean, she's in a difficult position. She's lost 3 consecutive fights. I did score the Derandami fight for Jermaine. I know a lot of people had it for Holm, so close fight there. She did have the fight where she was winning most of the fight against Miesha Tate and then ended up losing. So I mean, it's not like she's been getting dominated, but certainly it's crazy. I mean, to think about where she was in her terms of her popularity and her marketability and all those things after beating Ronda Rousey, and now I saw some people today during our weigh-in stream talking about they need to cut her if she doesn't win. It's crazy, and this is a huge spot for her. And I encourage anybody, if you haven't seen the interview, go to MMA Junkie, go to YouTube, check out the interview that we had. I thought she gave some very honest, open answers about being in a difficult position, you know, in what the stakes are of this fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think about 3 out of her last 4 fights were for titles. You know, her title where she got it from Ronda, then she lost it to Miesha, then Shevchenko, and then the next title one. I mean, so these are high. I mean, granted, there are 3 losses, but I mean, that's 3 super high-profile fights. It's not like she's just losing to anybody. But I think, and she is marketable. She's a hell of a fighter. Comes from a great team. You know, if there's probably a person that can maybe qualify for a pass when it comes to 3 losses in a row, I would think Holly would be that person. Now, losing to Betch would diminish it quite a bit because Betch is at a different level than these last, 4 fights that she's had.
Agree.
You saw what Ronda did to Betch. If Betch somehow pulls this out, then it's almost like Holly's completely went in reverse of where she was at.
I hadn't even considered that because I am so all in on Holly in this fight. I just feel like stylistically, I don't mean this is any insult to Betch, but I just think stylistically, like this is like the worst possible matchup for Betch.
Yeah.
Somebody that can outstrike her.
She's just going to outmove her. She's
Exactly.
never going to let Betch get in there. I mean, like, Betch is going to come and she's just going to circle around and just work her from the outside. And I hope it's not 5 rounds of just moving and popping, which it can be. I would like to see somebody get finished, as most people do. But, yeah, I mean, I just see Holly is just so – her technical skills are just so much crisper than Betch's. I think Betch, I mean, she's a brawler. I mean, she gets in there, she throws, she ducks her head, and she wants to eat a punch to give a punch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Holly's going to allow that to happen. I think Holly's going to stick her 1 or 2, and then she's going to dip out, work some kicks from the outside. But this should be, I don't want to say an easy fight for Holly, but technically on paper, it should easily be Holly's fight.
I think so too. I think everything points to her. I mean, gosh, even our fighter picks that we do every week, who you got? It sounds like everybody was leaning towards
that was
Holly.
tough. Afterwards, it was like, man, do we even want to put it out? Because we were going to try to find a fun way to mess around with. Then it was like, I just don't have the energy. Like, I think everybody, even watching the video, probably is like, yep. Besides the one almost random, I think it's going to be a tie from Juliana. I'm like, are you serious? You just don't like me.
I don't think Juliana Pena likes us at all. I don't think she's a fan of MMA Junkie.
Thanks, Steven.
But yeah, man, I'll tell you what, if Betch does find a way to win, boy, I hadn't really considered the possibility. That would be devastating to Holly Holm.
Yeah, that would
devastating.
That would be a complete reversal, and then you're going to have some people and right now I think she's really worried about this win because I think she feels that she's let down her team because she knows she has a really super strong coaching team and probably some of the best analytical MMA minds and some of the best coaches that are out there. And if she doesn't, I think she's probably going to feel that she's let them down. And I could see her, I mean, I would hate to see her leave or try to switch because she thinks she's not doing enough for them. I know that they would probably tell her you're being silly.
Right.
But it almost feels like that she feels like she's disrespecting them if she doesn't
It's
win.
true. That's the way she talks, right?
You know,
like
it does. It feels that way.
It's not like just a cliche when she says, I let down my team. Like, it feels like she really thinks, as you said, that she was disrespectful in letting them down.
Yeah, like she is, like, would honor them by leaving them so they wouldn't have to be ashamed by
like falling on your sword as a
that's what it kind of seemed like. I'm like,
whatever.
oh, that's ridiculous. And I know they would be like, dude, you're being ridiculous.
Right. But that's like the way she's built.
I mean, could be that. I mean, for her to get to this level, I mean, I think we forget too. I mean, she's a world champion boxer. I mean, she's accomplished so much that whatever it takes in her head to keep her going to the gym, keep her focused and all that stuff. And I'm sure part of that is that team, the respect, that everything that's built up. And then if she feels that she's bringing the team down, I could see her thinking that she's doing the right thing because she doesn't want to sour the water or taint the pool of winners or something. And I think it'd be ridiculous. But with a loss to Betch, then it's going to make it easier for people to say, all right, then they're gonna think about 4 losses, when it comes to that. 3 when you're looking at who she lost to, and I mean they're all championship bouts. One was sort of a fluke at a different weight class, but I don't know. But it would be bad. It would be bad for Holly.
Man.
But I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either. Interesting to consider, though. Interesting too that she, and I asked her about it. Is there ever any regret that you didn't wait for the Ronda rematch? If you remember back then, Dana was saying, sit around. Even if you have to sit around for a year, sit around for a year. Wait, this is going to be a huge fight. You'll make, $7, $8, $9, $10 million for the rematch.
Her star was shining huge right then too. Remember she got the parade back in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
All that other stuff. I mean, she was riding high right there, and I think it was. I could definitely see where Dana and them were like, dude, if you just hold on, like, you are at the top of the top right now. And I mean, anybody will pay whatever, because she was the darling. Everybody was like, oh, even, I mean, my girlfriend was like, wow, I like her. She's so nice. And I'm like, that's why everybody likes her. She's the fucking preacher's daughter, you know? But she was winning too, you know? But once that win becomes a loss, and then becomes another loss, and then becomes another loss, you know, it's hard to get that shine back, you know?
It's funny, Ben from Globo, we were talking to him this morning. You know, there was a picture that UFC Brazil put out of Holly and Betch cutting weight together. And Ben was saying cool. It was kind of hard for Betch because, you know, Betch, she's always like that, like, little angry pit bull, you know, like, oh, I hate you, you know what I mean? She's like, Holly's like the nicest person ever, you know what I mean? Yeah. So she can't be, like, mean at her. She can't even, like, get into her.
That's what Betch is saying?
Yeah. And she's like, it's hard for her to, like, try to, like, act like she hates her because she's like, she's so nice. Yeah. All right, co-main event, Andre Arlovski.
I thought that was pretty cool, though. They
cool.
were cutting. That was neat.
It was cool. Co-main event, Andre Arlovski versus Marcin Tybura. Kind of surprised this was set up as the co-main. We'll talk about it. I thought Colby Covington versus Dong Young Kim might be worthy of being the co-main. But Arlovski and Tybura. Arlovski, another guy. We only talked to him for a couple minutes. It was a busy media day. We had a lot going on, but did get a few minutes with him, and he too, very, very honest. Really appreciate him saying, "Listen, man, I know I'm in a bad spot right here. You know, I know I've lost 4 straight fights, but you know, I still feel good. I still feel I have it." But he said, "Listen, I know this is kind of a crossroads for me. I know the rest of my career, you know, may hinge a lot upon, you know, what happens here, and then I'm getting older, and you know, I know my time may be coming." And you know, he didn't train at Jackson's for this one. He's down in Florida working with some of the guys at American Top Team. He's not at ATT. He just hired some of the coaches to work with him. He said he did it just because he didn't want to be away from his son, which I can certainly understand that.
I get it. He's had loss lately, so I can see where, you know, he's trying to get back to family, you know. I mean, and I mean, no offense to Marcin, but I just think he could probably, if he works on what he does, I mean, when you've reached the level I think that he has, I mean, I think if anything else, the training, the camps are probably more about getting your fitness right. And make sure that you can make through the rounds. It's not like you're learning a new technique.
Yeah, teach him how to throw a jab properly or something.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. So I would think, if anything, keep him happy. And if his kid is getting to the age where he's really realizing that the distance, you know, the 6 months, 8 months, I forget what he said, being away from family, that's got to be super tough, especially when your kid's getting to an age that he's really paying attention to it.
He said his son turns 5 in August, and my kid obviously turned 5 in May. So I mean, I get the age and everything, man. Our kids are just a few months apart in age, and God, it kills me to be away from my kid. You know what I mean? I'm gone for a week at a time. Now this has been crazy. You know, this month-long road trip, I've been gone for a month, and it's been hard. So if you're talking about doing, you know, 8 weeks at a time and doing that for 3 times a year, something like that, like, yeah, dude, I get it. I totally get it, and I can respect him for it, you know.
Yeah.
But this is a big fight, and Arlovski is the underdog here, and fairly sizable if I remember right in the odds. I went ahead and picked him for my staff picks. I know that may be weird, you know, picking somebody that's on a 4-fight losing streak, but also look at the people he's lost to. I mean, Stipe Miocic, Alistair Overeem, Josh Barnett, Francis Ngannou. I mean, come on, dude. You're talking about some beasts in there. So, I don't know. I really do feel like this is a crossroads fight for Andre Arlovski, and he kind of admitted as much, but I think there's a real possibility that if he doesn't win, if things don't go his way, and Tybura's a tough dude, man. Tybura's going to get in his face. That if Arlovski doesn't win, man, I think there's a possibility this could be his last fight.
This is another one where a loss is gonna do a lot of damage. I mean, but I like how he says that he takes it very humbly. He's like, you know, perhaps this is time again to restart the career again. So he definitely doesn't seem like he's ready to hang it up. But yeah, I mean, a loss here would be kind of devastating as well, because, you know, they're on 2 different levels, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I kind of jokingly said it. I think I was talking to the boys from Australia and Submission Radio. But I was like, I can't live in a world where Andre Arlovski can't beat Marcin Tybura. You know what I mean? It's like, no disrespect, but it's like you're talking about superstar of the sport, former champion, you know, widely recognizable, versus Tybura, who's, again, a talented kid and a nice guy, and enjoy talking to him. And he's like, listen, I know I'm just making my way, and not, you know, but you're like, oh, man, you guys are 2 different generations. Like, you can't, you know? So it's a big fight.
Big fight. There's the PR lady that everybody was talking about on the.
Making friends on the weigh-in stream this morning. We could have gotten her married away. That would have been easy enough.
They were asking why you weren't on our highlight video. The lovely Vicky from PR.
Too funny. She's a good girl, man.
Those of you that are listening to this that watched the stream will understand that inside story. And if you don't, go back and watch the stream.
All 2 hours of it.
All 2 hours
until you get the inside joke.
Until you get the inside joke.
All right. The fight that I thought was going to be the co-main event, Colby Covington versus Dong Hyun Kim. Listen, I'm excited for this fight too. This is another one where you've got the up-and-coming guy, Colby Covington. Hashtag easy money tour. You know, he's with his boy Masvidal out here. And Colby has just never been one to be lacking in confidence, man. The guy is honestly as confident as it comes. A lot of people view that as cockiness, and maybe it is, but I've always said, listen, if you're going to lock yourself in a cage with another human being that's hell-bent on separating you from your consciousness, it's okay if you're a little bit self-confident. You know, you need to have that belief in yourself. But facing Dong Hyun Kim, a guy that's been around for, I think 9 years in the UFC now. I mean, the guy has been a staple of the UFC. Big size difference between them. You know, we saw him at the media day stare downs. I mean, I think we knew it was a big size difference. But man, when you see them stand next to each other, Dong Hyun Kim is a huge welterweight, and he towers over him. But Colby says, listen, I've got something for him, and I tell you what, man, I'm riding with Colby Covington here. I met him at his UFC debut in Macau a couple years ago, and I loved his attitude, I loved his confidence, and I've kind of been riding with him on this journey, and I'm sticking with him here. This is a big fight.
That's your ride or die?
That's my ride or die right there. I'm on the Colby Covington train.
No, it should be good. I mean, and I think with Kim sometimes he just, I know he flips it when he gets in there. Sometimes during the fight week, we always just see the lighthearted, goofy, and you wonder if his focus is really there. But he never seems to have a problem once you get into the octagon. I don't think we're going to have a problem here, but it should be interesting. Kim's got some length. He's got he's a tough fighter, but that should be a fun one to watch.
I like it. Rounding out the main card, Rafael dos Anjos moves up to 170 pounds versus Tarek Saffiedine.
Lean and mean.
Yeah, Rafael dos Anjos looked comfortable, man. He looked happy to not be cutting in at 155. He actually smiled a little bit when he was stepping on the scales. Tarek Saffiedine, as you said, man, looks to be in phenomenal shape, man. We talked to him the other day. He, of course, was in the main event. First time out here, he had that great fight with Hyun-Gyu Lim, which, if you've never seen that fight, man, I thought it was a fun fight. Tarek Saffiedine was just whipping his ass with leg kicks, basically, but Hyun-Gyu Lim just comes charging at him in the fifth and final round. It was a lot of fun, and that was crazy. That was actually at the Marina Bay Sands Conference Center. It was just a big, conference room that they turned into a UFC arena, which is crazy. This one is down the street at an actual Singapore indoor arena, so a bit more of a formal arena. But I'm intrigued by this fight too. To me, it was kind of a toss-up. I mean, when you see a guy moving into a new weight class for the first time, I don't think you ever really know exactly what to expect. And Rafael dos Anjos, it's crazy because he's not. Bottom line, he's just short and stocky, man. He's like a fire hydrant. You know what I mean? He's not tall by any stretch. He wasn't tall for lightweight.
Fire hydrants have really, really small, arms.
Well,
are you saying he's little
he's
baby
got
arms?
two little
T-Rex
pegs
arms?
just sticking out of each side, just that don't actually move anywhere.
That's crazy.
And he also spouts water.
And he spouts water.
No,
he's great in summertime.
He's just like a barrel, man. And I think he's super happy. He did tell us when we saw him earlier in the week, he still did have to cut a little bit, just a few pounds, but definitely not the miserable cut that he's had down to lightweight. So I love this. Tarek Saffiedine, a guy that when Tarek is on, he is on, man. He is dangerous to deal with. He's fun to watch as a striker. But how will he handle the game of Rafael dos Anjos? Will dos Anjos be able to have high energy, high pressure, and really go out without the weight cut that he's dealing with? So I leaned towards RDA in this one, but man, I'm intrigued by this fight too. This main card, it's funny because the main event doesn't do it for me. I'll just be honest with you. The main event doesn't just get my blood boiling and excited. I mean, I know the stakes are high for Holly Holm, and that's important. But the other three fights on the main card, I'm really intrigued by. I feel like they have meaningful. I mean, it's meaningful for Holly, but the other three I think really have meaningful impact on these careers, and I'm intrigued by them all. I feel like in a lot of ways they're kind of toss-ups in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm with you. Should be good. I think that Dos Anjos fight, I think it'd be good. I'm a little torn as to who I think will take that one, because Tarek is tough, man, but he's been having a rough little patch. But Dos Anjos, he hasn't had it really good either lately. So definitely prompting the move. But Tarek's tough, man. I wouldn't be surprised though if he could pull it out. I don't know if I want to go on the record against you though, because RDA should.
Yeah,
take
my spectacular fight picks this year.
Well, that's true. I should just go opposite of you, and then I will win. That's what you're saying?
Last place in the staff picks this year. You know how embarrassing that is? I've been like number 2, number 3, like the last 3 years when we started doing them close to winning.
So you picked RDA?
Yeah. So
you
go Tarek?
I'll go Tarek.
Jesus Christ. That's how bad my picks are.
I'm going to just tick it up right now as a win right now.
Terrible. Yeah. I've just been doing awful. Okay, listen. One thing we got to do here, the IMMAF Asian Championships were here this week. It was crazy. They were literally happening right next to us, and we didn't get to go see them, unfortunately. I want to go to one of their championships one of these days. It sounds like they do a good job. But Marc Goddard was here. He's actually working with them. He's helping with the IMMAF worldwide to kind of get officiating on par with basically around the world, kind of getting everybody on the same page. In the same way that amateur fighters are developing, he's helping officials develop as well. So we got a chance to sit down and just shoot the shit with Marc Goddard. I asked him a bunch of questions, not so much about specific fights, because I wanted to get some more thoughts on just kind of overall state of refereeing, his career, those sort of things. But
I thought you were going to ask him about Nando's ordering again.
Oh, that dude does a strong Nando's order. He got me on the halloumi cheese, man. He's got the halloumi cheese. He's the chicken livers. He's the chicken livers, man. He's strong. His Nando's game is tight.
His Nando's game is strong.
But we talked about some other stuff. But he did say, listen, man, if you want to kind of go into more specifics moving forward on certain fights and whatever, we'll do that. So I think it kind of opened up a level of communication that we'll do that in the future. In the meantime, why don't we just listen to the conversation that we had, myself and Marc Goddard. Well, Marc, we saw you last week in New Zealand. We've seen you this week in Singapore. When I first talked to you, I thought you just had a vacation going on. You were going to be here for a few extra days, but you got work going on. Tell us what you're doing this week.
Yeah, we got the it's the IMAF, the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation. It's their Asian Open. Obviously, I know you guys are familiar with IMAF. You saw it in Vegas, the World Championships. We got it going on just a couple of halls up. Started yesterday. Today was the second day, and it's a pleasure to be involved in that.
You're not actually officiating, but you're helping oversee the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't, because what it's about, because it's obviously the premise of IMAF is to develop the grassroots of the sport for giving the fighters that level playing field, but it's also the same for the officials too. For fighters that get experience and continuity, it's the same for officials, referees and judges, and I help oversee the regulatory side. Both in terms of doing seminars globally for IMAF, getting everybody onto the same page, and then when it comes to the actual events, being there to help assign the judges, look after them, get them all together, and I'm very privileged. It's something that I look forward to, because it takes me back a bit, and I feel like it's giving something back to the sport as well, because it's solely geared around amateurs.
It's very cool. It's funny because you said getting everybody on the same page, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to get together and talk to you, man. I think this is such an interesting time in mixed martial arts, and I kind of wanted to get a referee's perspective on it, because we're not all on the same page anymore, right? We had the unified rules, and new rules were passed, and not everybody's getting on board. And I feel like it's causing a lot of confusion from fans, from fighters, and I don't think you guys are confused, obviously. I know you guys know what you're doing, but I gotta think that making split-second decisions, that should be instinctual by nature, but having to make different, decisions based on that, depending on where you are, has got to be an extremely difficult position for you to be in.
Yeah, I get that, and I understand that thought process on a couple of fronts. For me, it is what it is. As a paid official, if I turn up to a particular country or event and they say do this, I can do it, off the cuff. But I think we're kind of masters of our own destiny or creators of our own downfall in that side, because, as you rightly say, even before the added confusion of the revised rules, you know, fans and some fighters and everybody they weren't on the same page then in terms of understanding the rules. Now, when you have an addendum to the rules, a revision and an update, they're being used in some places, they're not being used in some places, so it's kind of muddied the waters even further. And I do feel for people, you know, you guys, press, media, fighters, fans, everybody around the world in different places, sometimes they're not sure what they're looking at.
And I mean, there's no question right now you're one of the top officials in the game, but I got to think for somebody that maybe might not be on the level that you are, that's had the repetitions that you have, that maybe it does put the officials in a little bit of a difficult position as well?
Definitely, I can see that. And look, by that, me saying that I'm going to be ever ready, you know, at the same token, I know I'm a human being, but don't make a mistake. You know, that's something that we abide by. But yes, some of the guys coming through that maybe don't have the consistency of work, or they don't have the regularity that me and the other guys get week in, week out, month in, month out. If those guys are a bit sporadic in their work, depending on where they're going to be, they're going to get caught out, and I do feel for them, because, you know, it's bound to happen.
I feel like I'm really of the feeling that whatever it is, whether you like one definition of a grounded opponent, another definition of a grounded opponent, whatever the rules are, I feel like it's imperative that we just get everybody on the same page, that the unified rules are the unified rules again. I guess, I mean, do you hear any thought like that, or have any internal feeling like that it's important that we get to that, and that we can get to that?
For me personally, 1,000,000%. I'm in agreement. You know, that's part of my responsibility. As we're touching on with the IMAF, that's something that I do. You know, getting everybody on the same page. We're still a million miles away from that. You know, MMA has different guises and different setups in different parts of the world. I'm not saying we're gonna change things overnight, but by the same token, you know, unified MMA, both for professionals and for amateurs, it's a constant work process. Getting people just when you think you're turning the corner, just when you think you're turning the page to get more people to understand, then I didn't see this confusion arising when they had the voted revision, the changes last August, if memory serves me correctly, due to come in to start in January this year. I didn't foresee that so many states were going to elect not to adopt them. And I think that's kind of like the beginning of where the confusion is. When we move to other countries, certainly the countries that I've been working in, they're quite readily accepting of the changes, and they want to move to them pretty quickly. But it's a constant process, you know, and for the evolution of the sport, for the standardization of the sport, and for the fairness of everybody involved, you know, obviously the sooner we get there, the better it's going to be.
Is it hard? You know, I look at guys, you know, you, John McCarthy, Herb Dean, you know, guys that are really at the top. You guys have so much experience, so much knowledge, but do you have to be a little bit careful? Because I feel like it's almost, you know, you can't necessarily come and speak out about everything, right? I mean, do you guys have to weigh that? Because I feel like you guys have so much knowledge and probably could help us go in the right direction, but you work for the people that you would be giving advice to, right? So is it kind of difficult for you guys to speak up, or to maybe have the influence that you should be able to have?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I can only talk for myself on that front. But for me, you know, I find myself in a privileged position. You know, every time I step into another country or work with the UFC or wherever it may be, you know, it's a privileged position. It's not something that came from you know, luck. It's something that came from circumstance and many years dedicated to the sport. But in terms of using that influence to try and get everybody on the same page, no, I do speak out. But by the same token, I give respect to look in the US. You know, people have often looked towards the US for the adoption and adaptation of. That's where the unified rules were born. It's something I've always leaned to from my time as an official. And in terms of taking that and trying to push that forward to as many people, other people of influence, promoters, etc., like I said, you know, we're still a young sport. I try and say that to people when I do the seminars for referees and judges. Like it or not, the sport as we know it was born in 1993. A lot of people will be screaming at me right now, but I'm used to that. A lot of people will be screaming at me right now. They'll talk about Vale Tudo, pancration. Yes, the sport has been around in various forms for many, many years before that. But I'm talking the sport as we know it now. You know, it's the acronym of UFC. You say to people MMA, the layman, the man in the street, MMA, huh? And you say UFC. Ah, yeah, I understand it. You know, trying to get everybody into the same mindset and whatnot in terms of regulation. It's like I say, without sounding cliche, it's just we just keep cracking the whip and just keep working hard, keep our heads down, keep trying to get everybody on the same page. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not even sure it's going to be in my lifetime. You know, you look at the sport of, you look at what we're doing next door with the IMAF. Something that I've been trying to do in recent years is to get a recognition. I mean, you think that professional MMA is fragmented, amateur MMA is even more fragmented. I'm trying to get the adoption of a single unified rule set for that, keeping it as closely aligned. What we want to do is make the transition for young athletes at an amateur level to a professional level as close as possible, but on the same token, or by the same token, giving credence and giving extra thought process to the safety. That's why when you look at the fighters, you know, they're fighting the 3-minute rounds, they have the added protection. There's an aesthetic value there as well, something that MMA is miles away from. In boxing, I can turn on the TV in Canada, in Australia, I can turn it on in Russia or Brazil, and I know amateur boxing when I see it. We're a million miles away from that in amateur MMA. But take it from me, the leaps and bounds that IMAF have made in particular for amateurs in the last 3 or 4 years is kind of unprecedented.
Amateur MMA sometimes is a controversial topic, right? Because there's people that say if you're going to fight, go get paid for it. So what's your recommendation? I mean, why would you, what is there to gain for an athlete by going through an amateur system in MMA?
I mean, to me, obviously, amateurs, I mean, when I was first involved with the sport, amateur was pretty much non-existent. It was ranged anywhere from not heard of to non-existent. That's how prevalent it was. But I think, you know, as the sport advances, etc., people can see a definite career path now with MMA because the sport has become so much more accepted, or the dreaded mainstream, etc. You're looking at getting people from different disciplines, judokas, wrestlers, boxers, whatever it may be, trying to push those people into, they can see a career path beyond their sport. And if you look at any other sport, our closest relative that I would say is boxing. You know, you get young amateurs sometimes with bouts up into the hundreds, and I'm not saying that can directly translate for MMA. I would like to see it like that in many more years to come. But even now, you know, I've kind of wrote about it in articles saying that there's kind of like a weird, or you know, a horrible notion in MMA. You've had 7, 8, 9, 10 amateur fights and you think you're super experienced. Well, actually, guess what? You're not, you know. But obviously with bona fide tournaments like IMAF, a true world championships, you know, that they've had for the last 3 years, the Asian Open, the European Opens, the South African Opens, the amateur scene is something that will always stay close to my heart, and I'll try and do what I can to get people educated, you know, in that mold. It's like anything. I don't graduate from college straight to, you know, whatever industry it is. I have to go through the stages and the processes, experience, time served, etc. That's what I want to see for MMA in the long term.
You talked about the fact that you guys aren't just training fighters over here, you're training officials. I wonder, you know, around the world I see fans, honestly, that are passionate about the sport and love the sport. They're never going to fight. You know, I wonder if that's something that more people should consider, you know, becoming a judge, a referee, getting involved in the sport on their own, because I feel like there are some pretty intelligent, knowledgeable people. Now, there's also some idiots out there that probably tell you how to do your job. But I wonder if that's something that, you know, as you see the sport growing around the world, that's something people should consider, is getting involved in the sport in that way and maybe helping it grow a little bit.
For sure. You know, the easiest, it's funny you say that, and I'm laughing because from what I see, our fans, you know, the fans of, when I say our, not mine, before they start scolding me about that, you know, the social media and the internet, man, it's relentless. It's relentless. But, you know, I do try and, like, people have actually, I'm pretty pragmatic as a person, and I don't hold back on what I want to say. Sometimes my social media kind of detracts that, because a lot of people are like, man, your patience is incredible. But I understand that there is a lot of, you know, passionate people out there, and passionate people that want to learn, and they want to get involved with the sport. And of course, look, not everybody can become a fighter, and I don't think that's everybody's chosen path anyway. But in terms of anybody who wants to give something back to the sport, and you can take that across any industry, there's ways and means of doing it. And I would kind of implore, you know, anybody, no matter what the country, to, if that's what they want to do. Obviously, different countries have different regulations. You guys in the US, for instance, have state ACs, commissions and regulatory bodies. Certain countries in Europe do the same. But yeah, young blood, new blood in any aspect of any sport, particularly on the official side, I would encourage it where they can, but you need to be willing to do it. And yeah, go and seek out your local shows, try and get involved. And if you're that passionate, if you really are that intent on making a difference, then you will.
What drives you to do it? Because as you said, you know, like I see your social media, it's hilarious. I mean, a sports official has to be like the least appreciated person in any sport, right? But I think in MMA, it's even more so because, you know, in most sports, you make a call here for one team, you can kind of make it up on the other team, or, you know what I mean? There's ways it seems to balance out. In MMA, you only have to make very few decisions, but the decisions you make are the ones that end fights, and there's no way to make that up. Either the fight's over or it's not. So, you know, I just wonder, I see the outrage you get sometimes with you know, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? What are you doing, you idiot? So, you know, I wonder what drives you to do it, because I just can't, it has to be the least appreciated job in the sport.
What drives me to do it? I'm in love with this sport. It's as simple as that, you know, because if I wasn't, I wouldn't do what I did. You know, I've grown up with it. I've been involved directly with MMA for 17 years, you know, martial arts in various forms before that, but in MMA, 17 years, 14 of those years as an official. If you didn't love it, it would show, you know. I've always said, like, to people that, you know, passion, true passion, is a very honest thing. It's a very truthful thing. And if you are passionate about something, it will show. I've saw so many people, you know, become involved in this sport, you know, fair weather, 5-minute people. You know, how long have you been around the sport, John? You'll see it yourself, but from my own personal point of view, you know, you look at Herb, John, the guys who, the mainstay guys, and many other guys, of course, besides that. For me, it's just, I'm passionate about this thing, you know. Like I said, you cut me in half and I bleed MMA. I'm in love with this sport. Sometimes to my wife's detriment, as she'll testify. She'll say, you know, it's like me or that, it's her or it. But I just want to make a difference, you know. And it's like I said about the social media side. There's so much more I want to say now, but even now, you know, I'm still in the realms of professionalism. I would like to be more honest in what I think, but by the same token, I'm not going to let my guard down and let those people, you know, I don't want to be condescending to the people outside of the sport, but they really can't get an appreciation for what an official has to do. And like I said, you know, it's not a role for everybody. And like I said, the number of years that I've been involved, because you get the highs and the lows in terms of, you know, you stand by your decisions. And if you weren't in love with it, you wouldn't be there. It's like any relationship. If things are going bad and you didn't like it and you didn't love it, you'd go. And that's why, you know, the long-serving people in this sport are still there year after year, because you accept what's good, you accept what's bad, and you try and make a difference. And sorry about going on, but, you know, when you're talking, it's very nice that you say about, you know, people say that about the best this, the best that, and being regarded. The way I see it, there's 7.5 billion people on this planet. Being regarded in the top 5, 10 of everything, that'll do me nicely. I don't care about 1, 2, 3. I really don't care about being the best. I do care about being the best, but what I want to be the best at is the best version of me. It doesn't concern me. It's a matter of opinion, you know. We have some fantastic officials in this sport, you know, Big John being at the top. And I say that, you know, openly and honestly, you know, quite literally, the guy who wrote the rule book. And the difference is, you know, me and John talk, but the difference is when you see someone like that, not only is he still at the top, but he's still performing at the top. He's still making the same calls at the same level, week in, week out. And I don't concern myself with being the best. I'm patient. I just want to make a difference. I'm doing my thing, and I'm happy doing it.
That's awesome. Well said. Well, what are things that you see? I mean, are there changes that need to be made, or steps that need to be done? What do you think are the next steps to you know, A, help the sport grow, and B, help you do your job?
I would certainly like more harmony and acceptance when it comes to the rule set. That's a given. You know, like I said, fans and detractors of the sport will pour enough negativity on us. And even now I'm looking for a reason to give it back to them, because in terms of, I can understand why they get confused about the rules, but it's like anything. There is some fantastic fans out there, you know, not ignorant people, and it's, you know, like I said, social media. The funniest thing I ever heard about social media was from John Kavanagh, and he summed it up perfectly, you know. Like, something I always live by was social media. The best thing about social media is you can have direct access to somebody. The worst thing about social media is you can have direct access to somebody. But he went beyond that, and he said, look, social media is why they, as an analogy, social media is why they print "do not eat" on bags of silica. You know, when he told me that, I was just like, it's so, you know, it makes so much sense. But in all honesty, you know, forgetting that, I'm just trying to go back to what the original question was. I'm like,
it's so fun to get on the social media stuff, man. No, but just talk about, you know, the steps that need to be taken, things that we need to do to help the sport grow and help you.
For me, harmony on adaptation of the unified rules. It's no secret, the more people doing the same thing is going to lead for greater clarity for everybody involved in the sport. That's a given, you know. Like I said, it's probably not going to be in my lifetime. There will always be different guises of MMA in different parts of the world, you know, in the Far East, etc., etc. Are they ever going to adopt full unified MMA? Probably not. Is that the end of the world? Who cares? You know, I'm not concerned about that. And the second thing that, as I said before, alluded to before, is the importance of the amateur side of this sport. You know, obviously the UFC are very heavily linked and have done nothing but support the amateur side of the sport in terms of the IMAF. If more people got involved in that, and just to see how much difference that makes. And we're at the formative years of this, you know, I keep saying about it might not be in my lifetime. If I've played a small part in that, then, you know, I'll die a happy man as long as the sport progresses and the amateurs keep coming through. And I think it's going to be many more years from now before we see, you know, I think it's still rising, and obviously it's going to reach a certain plateau. But I'm still positive about that, you know, about MMA in all its guises. And like I said, if you weren't in love with it, you wouldn't be so.
17 years in, how long do you think you can do it? Do you see an end for yourself and your involvement in the sport, or is it going forever?
No, I mean, I'm going to be 43 this year. And like I say, you know, 14 years as an official. I've been working with the UFC now, coming into the 10th year. So, you know, like I said, I think I've easily got another, I don't know, it's probably, if you ask me or ask my wife, it'd be two different questions. But look, as long as I'm in love with this game, and as long as I can consistently do what I'm doing at the highest level, I think my own body and my own mind will tell me that, you know, when enough's enough. I think if you look at boxing referees, I think the career longevity for an MMA referee will be slightly less than what it would be in boxing. And I go back to John. I'm not going to give away his age. He can say that. But John's still, like I said, the guy who wrote the rule book. He's been around longer than anybody, and he's still going strong. He's still making the right calls in the right places at the right time. And He's older than me. I'm not going to say how much, so I know I've still got plenty to offer.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Marc Goddard. All right, real quickly, Cold Coffee. Prelims, Takanori Gomi versus John Tuck. It's funny because, you said earlier when we were sitting down doing some editing stuff, you're like, I didn't even realize Gomi was fighting on this card.
But that's no offense to Gomi. That's just me not looking at this fucking card before I came.
Listen, it's been busy.
It's been a crazy. I didn't even know Adam West died. Just to throw that out. It is to me, I guess, apparently, because I can't get it off my mind.
I like John Tuck. So Cyril Asker versus Walt Harris. Walt, man, we had a chance to sit down and talk with him. I thought he gave a great interview as well. That's on YouTube and MMA Junkie. If you didn't see it, I thought he was great. And then it was awesome, too.
I'm going to go Harris on that one.
Because he shouted out, the big ticket shouted out, and he was like, it was honored to sit down with my go-to source for all MMA news. I'm
That's
like,
why I'm picking him.
That's what's up, Walt Harris. Big ticket in the house. He knows what's up with MMA Junkie. Bruce Leroy is fighting on this card. It was weird because his fight kind of fell out. They got a last-minute replacement. He wasn't listed for a while. Normally, we like to check in with Bruce Leroy, but we weren't sure if he was going to be here. But it's always fun to watch him fight. That guy, when he's on, and he's such a character, man.
He's a character.
Justin Scoggins versus Oka Sasaki, we mentioned that one. Li Jingling, who I'm a big fan of Li Jingling. I love his fighting style. I love his personality, even though we don't, he is learning some English. What did he learn? I am legend.
I'm legend.
He got
but
that.
he also said thank you friends, or thank you something like that.
It was so odd. We'll have to put that out as a little gif if he wins or whatever. It was pretty awesome. He's learning some English. We got a little bit of it on tape. But I love that. I think he would love to maybe headline the. I don't know if he'd be in a position to headline or not, but at least maybe co-main a fight night in China.
Would help with a nice big win here. Would certainly help.
Yeah, definitely would. Frank Camacho. We wanted to speak with Frank Camacho. Got a tip about. An interesting story about him. I'm sure some of it will probably come out on the broadcast, but a guy that had aspirations of being a professional golfer at one point in time and is now fighting instead. And we had some other stories about him that I want to talk to. But unfortunately, the Floyd Mayweather news got announced, and that kind of...
Is that happening?
That kind of stole our thunder there. Russell Doan versus Kwan Ho Kwat could be a lot of fun there. Carl's John De Tomas facing Naoki Inoue. We did see De Tomas miss weight, 131 pounds for his flyweight fight. Inoue was 124, so there's a 7-pound difference between them. It was interesting because with these weigh-ins the way they are, it actually took a couple hours to get this thing resolved because they couldn't get a hold of Naoki Inoue in his camp to make sure that he was okay with it. So normally, the old school weigh-ins, everybody's just right there. You're like, hey, your opponent missed weight. What do you think? But it actually took several hours before they could get a hold of Inoue and get this thing sorted out. But that fight is happening. And then Ji Yeon Kim versus Lucy Pudilova. Pudilova, of course, was the last person to weigh in and almost didn't make it into our highlight because the camera battery died.
It took so long to get her there. Just one of those things. Well, now I know that about 2 limits of streaming, that's about the bulk of what I can do on my camera before that battery dies.
All right. Well, listen, so that's going to be the fight card. It is Saturday night here in Singapore, early Saturday morning back in the States. I think 1:30 Pacific time is the first prelim if you want to stay up late. Or you can catch it later. I think it archives almost instantaneously on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll tell you about it when you wake up in the next morning.
Get some sleep. We'll have all the coverage you need. And, I tell you what, Cold Coffee, this 4-week stretch, man, 4 weeks, 4 continents sounded fun. And you know what I didn't even realize? Oklahoma City's next week. So technically, I'm doing 5 events on 5 continents in 5 weeks.
You have no one but yourself to blame.
Baller status. I thought it was cool, and then I did it, and I am dying, dude. I'm exhausted. I think we've been going to bed at like 10 o'clock every night, and not because we're trying to be responsible. First of all, it's because the frosty beverages are too damn expensive. It's not like you're going to be out grinding on them.
Can't afford to hang out here.
But secondly, my body's just shutting down, dude. I finally reached my limit. Nearly 40-year-old John Morgan is breaking down.
Well, I mean, which is crazy because we're like the beacon of health right here. So.
Oh, I know. You would think. I mean,
you would think that we go long and strong.
Our exercise routine that we do.
Crazy. Yeah. It's just the humidity.
It's got to be the humidity. All right. Well, listen. We've actually got some stuff to do, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we got to go do some weigh-ins.
I wasn't going to say anything. I mean, people don't need to know exactly where we're going.
I got to go take a poo. there. One of those things was true.
Rolling in hot, fellas. Rolling in hot. All right, well, listen, things will be back to normal next week. I don't think we're going to be.
Things are never normal with us.
This road show, the MMA road show, will finally be back to normal because this insane road show that we've done will be over. It has been fun seeing all the fights, all the countries, all the frosty beverages, but John's ready to be back home in Las Vegas.
Yeah, for sure.
In the meantime, thanks for listening.